Found a set of source material today that, on the surface, reads like a high-stakes college drama.
Right.
But when you actually start to unpack it, the analysis we're pulling out is it's fundamentally about psychological survival. It's about the cost of self-sacrifice.
And it's about how this, unresolved personal trauma can secretly steer your entire life, even when you think you've got it all under control.
Exactly.
What's so fascinating here is just how quickly the story peels back all those classic collegiate tropes to get to the real depth underneath. We start with a premise that is completely transactional. You have a desperate athlete who needs a grade and a smart student who, wants a quick social status boost.
Just a simple deal.
It seems simple, but the true deep dive, where we're going, is when you realize both of them are hiding this monumental decade-long pain. We're literally moving from a study of Kantian ethics in a classroom straight into the real-world ethics of self-preservation.
And mutual healing. Eventually.
Eventually.
So, our mission today is to dive into that complexity. We're focusing on the evolving, really complicated dynamic between Hannah Wells, a college junior who is just academically brilliant.
Oh, complete.
She aced it with a big red A on the midterm, even though she feels like she just scribbled down a never-ending stream of bullshit.
Right.
And on the other side, you have Garrett Graham. He's the Division I hockey captain who is, academically speaking, just circling the drain.
And that academic setting, that crucible, is Professor Tolbert's ethics class.
Yeah.
The source material sets the stakes immediately. Tolbert is famous for his disappointment speech.
Yes.
He notes that a whopping 70% of the class got a C+ or lower on that midterm. So Hannah's success in that environment, it's not just good, it's exceptional.
And it seems almost effortless for her, which just underscores her, her innate ability to process this stuff.
Meanwhile, Garrett's entire future, his professional future, is hanging by a thread that's tied to this one single class.
He needs to pass the makeup exam. If he doesn't, his GPA implodes, and that could jeopardize his status as captain.
And it would torpedo the team's hopes for a national championship. It's huge.
The pressure is immense.
And the irony is just beautiful, isn't it? Garrett's a history major. He deals in facts.
Right, black and white.
Exactly. Empirical data. But ethics requires philosophical analysis, moral relativism, all this abstract thought that he just actively struggles with. He needs Hannah's mind to salvage his entire physical and professional life.
It's the perfect Trojan horse.
For what?
For their psychological entanglement. It all starts with the grade.
It always does.
So we established that academic baseline. Tolbert's class is a grinder. Garrett is drowning. And Hannah, she has this incredible academic skill, but her attention is completely elsewhere.
100%. It's all about social ambition and specifically one high-value target, Justin Cole.
Justin Cole. And we get such a rich look into Hannah's internal world here.
Yeah, the infatuation is immediate. It's intense. She describes her heart just pounding when she sees him.
And she runs through this agonizingly detailed internal debate on how to approach him.
Say hi, wave, smile.
Yeah, and she ends up just settling for this little nod that she hopes looks cool and casual.
It's just a high-level strategic failure in social interaction. It's painful to read.
But the deeper insight, the one that really tells us everything about her guarded nature, it comes from her fear. She says she's terrified that he'll say no, but I'm even more terrified he'll say yes.
And that's it. That's the psychological lock she cannot break.
What do you mean?
That fear of success, that immediate retreat from any potential happiness. It links directly back to her previous failed relationship with a guy named Devin. It suggests that deep down, she sees any positive connection as a vulnerability that will inevitably lead to pain. And that all stems from the catastrophic trauma she went through as a teen.
So she just preemptively shuts it down.
Shuts down any chance of authentic intimacy.
Yeah. And that vulnerability is exactly what Garrett Graham steps into.
But not as a sensitive partner.
No. As an aggressive, socially clumsy bulldozer, the source material is so clear about his initial, just cringe-inducing missteps.
It starts with this purely physical assessment. We see him immediately checking out her damn sexy ass and commenting on how frickin' tiny she is.
He's evaluating her like an object, like a trophy, before he even tries to talk to her.
And his communication style.
Yeah.
It's a total train wreck of entitlement.
The immediate presumptuous language he uses, calling her baby, miss, or ma'am.
It's clearly designed to disarm or charm women who are probably used to just giving him exactly what he wants. He's the hockey captain.
But Hannah, thankfully, is not that woman. She is sharp-tongued. She is highly observant.
and she calls him on it immediately. She corrects his strategy, telling him that his aw shucks little boy grin tactic.
Which he clearly thinks is his foolproof charm weapon.
Right. She tells him it works almost always, she corrects. It's this mic drop moment where she just signals, I see your game and you are failing at it.
And when he can't get what he wants in person, he resorts to, well, digital stalking.
He gets her number from the study group sign-up sheet and just starts texting her relentlessly.
Which reaches its bizarre peak when he sends that picture message.
The picture of his bare, sculpted chest.
Oh my God.
It's such a perfect encapsulation of his misplaced confidence. He genuinely thinks, okay, if my charm doesn't work, my six-pack definitely will.
And her response is just priceless sarcasm.
In icking me out. Yes. Success.
That's where you see the core of their chemistry right there. It's constant, aggressive provocation from him, met with this sharp, superior wit from her.
He is forced to engage her intellectually before he can even think about her physically. It completely flips the script on him.
And it's clear her refusal doesn't deter him. It does the opposite.
It lights a fire under him. He is so used to being desired, and her resistance is a challenge he just cannot ignore.
Which finally leads him to the art of the deal.
Right. He tracks her down at Della's, this 50s-themed diner where she works in that powder blue uniform.
And she immediately shuts down his tutoring requests. She draws a clear boundary. Sorry, that's not on the menu.
She's protecting her time. She's protecting her emotional space.
So this forces Garrett to pivot. He moves from academic necessity to social strategy. And his proposal is, it's kind of brilliant in its shallow understanding of the college social ecosystem.
The fake dating arrangement.
Yes.
He frames it entirely around social optics.
Yes.
His reasoning is that if Hannah starts dating him, the captain of a championship Division I hockey team, a campus celebrity, it will elevate her social status.
It'll make her seem unattainable.
Exactly. And he theorizes that unattainability is the precise lever needed to drive Justin Cole crazy because, as he puts it, people want what they can't have.
And if we look back at the ethics class, this is the first really profound irony, isn't it? They are currently studying Kantian ethics.
Right, which emphasizes treating humanity, whether in yourself or in another person, never merely as a means, but always as an end.
And here they are, both of them, agreeing to treat each other and themselves purely as a means to an external end.
It's a total ethical failure, even if it ends up being emotionally effective. Hannah is using Garrett to attract Justin, and Garrett is using Hannah to pass his class.
So why does she agree to this? She knows he's an insufferable asshole. That's the critical question.
It's because of the massive social pressure she feels. She's already observed that Justin Cole only seems interested in girls with a certain social status.
The cheerleaders, the Kappa Beta members.
Right. And Hannah believes she's completely outside that boundary. She sees herself, internally, as a coward for not just pursuing Justin directly.
So the fake dating arrangement is a kind of armor for her.
It's a low-risk, high-reward social shortcut. It gets Justin's attention without the fear of genuine personal rejection.
She is essentially renting social credibility to overcome her own deep-seated insecurity and the guilt she carries from her past.
They both enter this agreement using each other, sacrificing their emotional authenticity for academic survival and social climbing. It's a very modern, very college-specific version of the Faustian bargain.
Where the price isn't your soul, it's the pretense of happiness.
And that pretense is maintained because they both believe their needs are entirely superficial. Garrett needs a grade, Hannah needs a date. Neither of them has a clue yet that what they actually need is a safe space to reveal their devastating secrets.
All right, so shifting gears now from the ethics classroom to the ice rink and the chaotic life that surrounds it, we really need to look at the bizarre contradiction that is Garrett Graham's life.
How so?
He is a machine of discipline living in a house of total, absolute chaos.
Oh, absolutely. The source material details his ironclad self-control. During the hockey season, he adheres religiously to a strict 1-5 limit on alcohol.
1 drink on a practice night, 5 maximum after a game.
Which is intense discipline, designed purely to maintain peak athletic performance. But it's also, a survival mechanism against the chaos he grew up in.
But that discipline stands in such stark contrast to his shared off-campus house.
Right. We hear about Logan, who subscribes to the beer is for pussies philosophy and drinks Jack straight from the bottle.
And then there's Dean, who's described simply as a total slut.
Engaging in some form of debauchery on every piece of furniture, except, ironically, the furniture in his own room.
Garrett lives in an environment that constantly threatens his control.
Which means his external boundaries have to be that much firmer. And we get a perfect glimpse of this when he deals with Kendall.
Kendall, a hookup partner who tries to push past that purely physical boundary.
She shows up in lingerie and a trench coat, looking for commitment.
And it forces the no dating policy conversation. Garrett is described as being honest, but deeply awkward.
He accepts her desire for commitment, but he just can't offer it. The scene really highlights his profound emotional detachment.
His inability to connect beyond the physical and
I
transactional.
mean, even though she hasn't asked him a single personal question since they met.
Wow.
So when she admits she needs to stop seeing him because she'll only get more attached, he accepts it so easily. He just doesn't have the emotional bandwidth to process attachment.
His life is rigidly compartmentalized.
Completely. Hockey, studying, and sex. Zero emotional crossover. It's how he maintains that illusion of control.
On Hannah's side, she is dealing with her own set of intense external commitments beyond just school. She's heavily involved in the performing arts.
And she has this crucial duet with a guy named Cass Donovan for the Winter Showcase.
A performance that is tied directly to a scholarship opportunity, so the stakes are high for her, too.
And this is where we see Hannah's creative frustration just bubble to the surface. Cass Donovan is immediately identified as a toxic counterpart. She calls him a fucking prima donna.
He's actively trying to manipulate the arrangement to highlight his own voice, his own high notes, even if it undermines the whole performance.
She is fighting for the artistic integrity of the piece. She argues for these complex harmonies that judges go cuckoo bananas for. She wants depth and complexity.
And Cass is pushing for these key changes that she says make her part sound clumsily off.
To the point where Mary Jane, the songwriter, has to intervene to protect the composition.
This conflict isn't just an artistic spat, though, is it?
No, it mirrors her struggle everywhere else. She is constantly fighting against people who are trying to diminish her contribution or take advantage of her talent.
And the irony is just thick.
Oh, it's so thick.
Yeah.
She hates Cass's guts, but is forced to perform a deeply emotional love song with him.
That simmering annoyance and artistic stress is what she brings into her tutoring sessions with Garrett.
And it marks the beginning of the shift in their dynamic. They're supposedly studying Kantian ethics, but the real lesson is how to relate to another person authentically.
During one of these sessions, Hannah realizes Garrett is still being sexted by another woman.
Right, while they're studying.
And in this moment of proprietary annoyance, maybe it's jealousy, but she won't admit it, she grabs his phone.
And she types this blunt, definitive response and hits send for him.
She is actively intervening in his romantic life. She's staking a claim, even if it's non-romantic, on his time and attention.
And that action, that boundary setting on his behalf, is what opens the door. Later, after a miserable rehearsal with Cass, she actually confides in Garrett about the drama.
And his response is what cements their transition to genuine friendship.
He doesn't offer empty platitudes. He doesn't give generic advice.
No, he demands she sing both versions of the song for him. An acoustic performance right there in his room.
He's listening. He's analyzing. He's demonstrating true interest in her life beyond the grading curve.
And she realizes in that moment that Garrett isn't as bad as I thought he was.
The bonding just continues to deepen from there through these deliberate, non-sexual activities.
The Breaking Bad binge is a critical milestone.
7 episodes straight without a break. And that marathon allows vulnerability to creep in, disguised as just casual comfort.
It's the domesticity of it that matters so much. Hannah reveals she's not a big drinker, okay?
Which is a detail directly related to her trauma, since she avoids the party scene. And Garrett, sensing the seriousness, immediately accepts it. He doesn't badger her or push her to conform.
That respect for her boundaries is massive for her.
Cute.
They also talk about body image. Hannah sarcastically compliments his super hot bod, which is, a classic flirtation device.
But Garrett's response is serious, and it's really revealing. He says he prefers women who are curvy and built over one who's a twig.
In that moment, he directly challenges the social beauty standards that Hannah feels she has to adhere to for guys like Justin Cole. He validates her natural physique.
It's a subtle but powerful psychological boost that starts to shift her self-perception.
And then comes the morning after, the cuddling incident.
Yes. Hannah wakes up in his arms, and Garrett wakes up with what the source material describes as a very obvious case of morning wood.
The sheer awkwardness of it is key to their developing intimacy.
Garrett immediately jumps to this purely clinical, scientific defense of the situation. He is desperate to maintain the non-sexual boundaries they've set up.
He insists, it's biology, Wellesley. We wake up with wood. If it makes you feel better, I am in no way turned on right now.
He is trying to intellectualize a highly emotional and physical moment.
But for Hannah, the emotional reality is unavoidable. She admits to herself that she feels a genuine sense of loss when she leaves his arms.
It's the first time she's experienced non-sexual comfort that deep.
And then the conversation takes this really significant turn. Hannah is surprised by his ability to read her emotional states, annoyance, anger, embarrassment, with such accuracy.
And he reveals that he learned that skill from childhood necessity.
That throwaway line.
It's the first massive red flag. It signals that his seemingly flawless emotional intelligence is actually a learned trauma response, honed over years and years of watching an abuser.
That offhand comment about childhood necessity is the transition point, really.
Absolutely. We are now moving out of the transactional college story and into a deep examination of their hidden wounds.
Let's start with Hannah's trauma, which stems from her being raped at age 15 at a party.
And the source material is so crucial in detailing the systemic effects of this. It's not just bad memories. She has a practical, active survival routine.
She carries pepper spray. She has 911 ready on her phone.
And she avoids all large social gatherings. This isn't just shyness. It's a necessary defense against what she calls her version of PTSD.
Which is triggered by really common college elements. The sounds of a party, the smells, stale beer, sweat, and just the physical proximity of crowds.
And the devastating ripple effect of this trauma went far beyond her personal safety. It crushed her family financially.
This is one of the most chilling aspects of the source. The rapist's family, who we learn are highly respected, led by mayor mom and pastor husband.
Of course.
They sued her family for emotional distress and slander after the charges against him were dropped.
Think about the level of systemic injustice there. Hannah's family, the victims, were forced to defend themselves against defamation while simultaneously paying the astronomical legal fees.
For the rapist's family, they had to take out a second mortgage and a massive loan to pay 2 sets of legal fees.
It's just evil.
This action, perpetrated by this wealthy, socially powerful family, financially devastated her own. It left her parents stuck in Ransom, Indiana.
Working these steady, unfulfilling jobs at the lumberyard, unable to sell their house or even afford a plane ticket for Thanksgiving.
And this burden of guilt, the belief that she is personally responsible for her parents' debt and misery, that is the driving force behind Hannah's entire identity.
It's why she is so willing to self-sacrifice later on. She feels permanently inadequate and indebted to them.
And the trauma in Ransom just kept escalating until it hit a breaking point. She reveals she hasn't been back since her father, provoked by a nasty comment about her at the hardware store, attacked the offender.
Who turned out to be Rob Delaney's father.
Yes. Her dad was arrested for assault. The charges were later dropped. But the town had completely turned on them. She ended up being homeschooled.
She lost her physical safety, her financial stability, and her entire community connection.
This deep context explains why her later actions are so self-destructive, but also so ethically motivated in her own mind. She's operating under the heavy weight of an unjust debt.
A debt which will manifest in her catastrophic, noble decision regarding Garrett's future.
That crushing weight finally erupts in the form of a drunken confession at Dean's party.
She deliberately drinks 3 piña coladas, which is a huge amount for her, with Garrett acting as her designated driver and, vigilant bodyguard.
And she dances suggestively and then slurs out the painful truth. See, I might be broken, but I can still have fun.
That's a desperate cry for validation. It's an attempt to normalize her pain and prove she is still worthy of pleasure and connection despite what happened to her.
And this moment of extreme vulnerability leads directly to the core discussion of her sexual dysfunction.
Yeah, she details her previous sexual encounters, awkward and lacking passion with her first college hookup, deeply frustrating with her ex Devin.
Despite being insanely attracted to Devin, she couldn't reach orgasm, which led to their breakup.
This inability to achieve sexual fulfillment with a partner is a classic physical manifestation of psychological trauma. The body's need for safety just overrides the desire for intimacy.
And she's open about it. She admits she can self-stimulate easily, but can't achieve it with a partner because her mind is too guarded to let go of control.
And this is the moment she casts Garrett into the role of her potential savior.
She tells him the full, painful truth. I'm broken and I wanted you to fix me. She explicitly says she wants to have sex with him because she wants to do it and she wants him to make me come.
Which is a massive, complicated emotional demand. It's not just about physical attraction. It's a desperate plea for healing.
A plea for someone to prove that her trauma has not permanently sealed off her capacity for pleasure.
She recognizes that the excitement Garrett evokes felt less paralyzing than the fear she associated with previous partners. She is giving him the keys to her most guarded space.
And Garrett responds by meeting her vulnerability with his own.
He validates their shared brokenness by confessing his own abusive family history. He admits that the last time he celebrated Halloween, his father beat the shit out of him.
A horrific memory that occurred exactly 1 year after his mother died.
And this is the trauma point that drives Garrett's need for strict control and his fear of his own temper. He reveals his father, Phil Graham, the famous hockey star, the perfect public figure.
At home, he was a monster.
Physically and verbally abusing him and his mother for years. And this is a profound secret, one he has kept hidden from everyone, even his closest teammates, Logan and Dean.
And this moment, it's transformative for both of them. Hannah shares advice from her therapist, Carol,
suggesting a path forward. The best way to forget a bad memory is to replace it with a good one.
and that becomes their new mission statement.
It's not about ignoring the past. It's about actively creating a shared present that is safe and validating. Garrett agrees to try to move past their traumas by focusing on their connection.
Realizing that Hannah, despite her own struggles, is the first person he has ever truly trusted with the core of his identity.
It shifts their relationship from a transactional deal into a foundational source of mutual psychological support.
But their newfound intimacy and their commitment to healing are immediately tested by the very external forces they've spent their lives trying to escape.
Their families.
And the first collision happens at Thanksgiving dinner at Phil Graham's intimidating Boston brownstone.
The setting itself is a manifestation of Phil's controlling nature and his obsession with status. Garrett describes it as looking like 3 living rooms stuck together. It's all sterile opulence.
And Garrett is just silent, tense. He's dreading every second of this forced holiday cheer.
And then we're introduced to Cindy, Phil's new girlfriend. She's a former event planner who sold her company because, as she says, Phil misses me too much when I'm at work.
Which immediately registers with Hannah as a classic sign of controlling behavior. It's a subtle threat to Cindy's professional autonomy.
Phil's control is rigid and absolute. Even down to the timing of dinner, he expects to eat the moment the turkey is ready. The entire environment is dictated by Phil's temperament.
It confirms for Hannah that Garrett's description of his father as a controlling monster was not hyperbole.
But the real chilling insight comes later, when Hannah sees the physical evidence of the ongoing abuse.
Bruises on Cindy's wrists.
This confirms her fear that Phil is perpetuating the same cycle of violence he inflicted on Garrett and his mother. Hannah's own trauma makes her hypervigilant, and she recognizes the signs immediately.
And this forces Garrett's hand. He can't stand by and watch history repeat itself.
He confronts his father privately. He references the past abuse and issues this terrifying warning that he will lay a hand on Cindy if his father continues.
That moment is so profoundly important for Garrett. It shows he's adopted this fierce protective instinct, but it also scares him.
Why?
Because using a physical threat mirrors his father's violence. It triggers his deep self-loathing and his fear that he is inheriting that temper.
But despite that fear, he still tries to protect Cindy. He urges her to call him if she ever needs help to escape, revealing the history of abuse he and his mother endured. He offers her a lifeline.
Unfortunately, that internal battle against his inherited rage comes to a head just a few weeks later.
At a hockey game.
At a hockey game, Garrett and Hannah run into Rob Delaney.
The friend who testified on the rapist's behalf back in Ransom, calling Hannah a whore and claiming she took drugs.
Rob's presence and his smug attitude are calculated to provoke. And when he makes a nasty, demeaning comment about Hannah, Garrett just snaps.
He loses control completely. He punches Rob, and it sparks this chaotic brawl.
And devastatingly, in the chaos, Garrett accidentally hits Logan, his own teammate and friend.
The physical manifestation of his inherited rage is undeniable. It confirms his absolute worst fear, that he is just like him, his father.
Because he couldn't control his anger and he struck an innocent person.
The consequences are immediate and professional. He gets a 1-game suspension for the fight. Coach Jensen, after Hannah lets Garrett explain her history with Delaney, goes easy on him.
But the psychological damage is done. Garrett is consumed by self-loathing. He believes he has failed Hannah and is doomed to become his abuser.
And this psychological weakness is the opening Phil Graham has been waiting for.
He executes his final, most calculated move. He targets Hannah at Della's diner while she is working.
The encounter is purely focused on financial warfare. Phil demands she break up with Garrett immediately and permanently.
Threatening to cut off Garrett's entire financial support, tuition, textbooks, car payments, gear if she doesn't comply.
We really need to analyze the chilling specificity of this financial abuse. Phil didn't just threaten, he demonstrated comprehensive knowledge of Garrett's financial precarity.
He notes that Garrett isn't eligible for financial aid because of the family's wealth.
And that he couldn't get a bank loan because he has no credit history or assets. Phil has created a scenario where Garrett has zero financial autonomy.
He points out that Garrett would be forced to drop hockey, work full-time, and just struggle to finish school. He chillingly refers to Hannah as a piece of co-ed pussy and insists he is being practical about his investment in his son.
Treating Garrett's future like a commodity that he controls.
And Phil's manipulation is perfect because it targets Hannah's deepest emotional vulnerability, her crushing guilt over her own family's financial devastation.
She knows Garrett, fueled by love and loyalty, would choose her. He would sacrifice his entire dream. And she refuses to allow Phil to win by forcing that choice.
Her analysis is agonizingly clear.
If I break up with Garrett, Mr. Graham wins. If I don't break up with Garrett, Mr. Graham still wins.
Driven by her history of self-sacrifice and debt, she sees breaking his heart as the only way to save his future.
She is choosing to absorb all the emotional pain and the social fallout because she fundamentally believes she is saving him from the same financial ruin and control that she knows all too well.
The breakup is swift and it is absolutely devastating. Hannah initiates it 4 days after the ultimatum.
And she carefully constructs a lie. Things are moving too fast, and she wants to see other people to explore her options.
Garrett, who is still reeling from the fight and his self-loathing, he believes the lie. He assumes she's rejecting him because she fears his temper.
But she fears he'll become his father.
Right. And in a moment of absolute devastation, he calls out her true defense mechanism, albeit very cruelly. He says, "For someone who's so damn strong, you really are a fucking coward."
And that line hurts because it's true. She is strong enough to absorb the pain, but she is too cowardly to trust him with the full truth and the burden of that choice.
The immediate consequence for Hannah is social exile. Campus shunning is instantaneous.
Every guy, including Justin Cole, the entire reason she started this mess,
And even Allie's boyfriend, Sean.
avoids her or treats her like I have an STD. Her attempt at social climbing has backfired spectacularly.
And it turns out this total isolation wasn't accidental, it was enforced.
Sean reveals that Garrett, in his heartbreak and his protective rage, invoked a campus-wide hands-off law. He essentially told every guy on campus that Hannah was off-limits.
While she was supposedly exploring her options.
And this action, though it's rooted in possessiveness, is also a demonstration of his loyalty and his protective instinct, even when he's been rejected.
It's this enforced shunning that finally forces Hannah to confront him, furious about the interference in her lie.
The ultimate confrontation happens in the Harkey locker room, a place of male dominance and control.
But here, it's where their truth finally comes out. Coach Jensen even walks in, amused by their intense but quiet exchange, and tells them to carry on with their very PG talk.
It's here that Garrett reveals the one truth that completely invalidates Hannah's noble self-sacrifice.
He confesses that he has a secret savings account.
And this is not a small rainy day fund. He reveals it has enough money saved since he was 10 years old to pay back his father for everything: the tuition, the car, the gear.
And to cover the rest of his education and sustain him for years after graduation.
This detail is the centerpiece of the entire analysis. We need to just spend a moment appreciating the depth of this strategic independence.
It wasn't simple saving. This was active, decade-long defiance against an abuser who used financial control as his primary weapon.
Since age 10, Garrett was meticulously building an impenetrable fortress of financial autonomy, preparing for the inevitable day he would need to escape.
It speaks volumes about the psychological maturity that was forced on him by his trauma.
While Hannah's self-sacrifice was reactive, based on incomplete manufactured information, Garrett's independence was proactive, strategic, and completely factual.
Hannah is horrified. She realizes her self-sacrifice was not only unnecessary, but was based on a fundamental lie manufactured by Phil Graham. She calls herself so fucking stupid.
And Garrett, surprisingly, handles this revelation with grace. He admits he's only annoyed that she didn't trust him enough to talk to him first.
But he immediately recognizes that her intentions were noble.
Right, they were based on her desire to protect him from the same financial ruin she knows so well. They reconcile, agreeing to full exclusivity.
And the transactional relationship is finally replaced by one built on radical trust and shared vulnerability.
The new status quo confirms their independence and mutual support, and we start seeing the results of their healing.
Hannah successfully performs at the Winter Showcase. This is after Cass Donovan, the prima donna, ditches her for a choir performance.
Which forces Hannah to revert to her powerful original song.
The resulting triumph earns her a $5,000 scholarship, which lets her pay for her own residence and meals. It alleviates some of that family financial guilt.
And this is Hannah taking back control of her financial destiny, just as Garrett has done. And Garrett skipped his team's celebratory party just to be there for her performance.
You see the shift in Garrett's confidence and identity at the final game. He attempts this cute gun finger signal to Hannah from the ice.
And in typical fashion for their relationship, nothing is simple.
Not at all. Hannah explains that the signal missed because she was talking to an old man who thought the goal was scored for him because of his recent diabetes diagnosis.
It's absurd.
And Garrett's perfect summation of their life is, why is nothing ever simple with us?
It's this humorous acknowledgement that their relationship is defined by chaos and unexpected complexity, but a chaos they navigate together now.
And the most profound change is the complete eradication of Phil Graham's psychological shadow.
Garrett reveals he finally told his teammates the full truth about his father's abuse after their conversation on Thanksgiving, creating a new support system.
So at the final game, Phil Graham lurks by the team bus, trying to reassert control or demand attention.
But the source material gives us the final, triumphant image. Garrett, Hannah, and his entire team pointedly ignore him. Nobody is looking at him.
Phil's financial and emotional weapons have been rendered entirely useless. Garrett, now supported by his chosen family, is finally free and autonomous.
This entire deep dive, which started with a mercenary deal, concludes with a relationship forged through shared trauma, brutal honesty, and the painful path to genuine self-acceptance.
So the core insight we've really distilled here is the profound difference between reactive self-sacrifice and strategic independence.
Right. Hannah, driven by the guilt of her own family's devastation, was willing to destroy her own happiness to save Garrett. Her sacrifice was based on emotion and, incomplete information.
Conversely, Garrett's strategic planning, that secret savings account, built meticulously since he was 10, it symbolizes the profound independence necessary to survive an abuser who wielded money like a weapon.
His was a strategic, decade-long act of rebellion.
And while trauma so often forces secrecy, their eventual vulnerable sharing of those secrets, Garrett's abuse, Hannah's rape, and the truth of his financial fortress.
That's what allowed them to move past the external manipulations of Phil Graham and truly connect on a bedrock of mutual understanding.
They didn't fix each other.
No, not at all. They created a safe space where they could finally begin to heal themselves.
They both achieved their personal freedom and independence by standing up to their abusers and prioritizing their own stability. However, the source material does leave one chilling element unresolved.
Cindy.
Garrett witnessed the physical evidence of abuse on her wrists during Thanksgiving. He offered her an escape route, but when he left, he was forced to abandon her without a concrete rescue plan.
So, given the context of cyclical domestic abuse established in the source, and knowing the immense ethical growth Garrett and Hannah have achieved in defending the vulnerable, this raises an important and provocative question for you, the listener, to mull over.
What ethical responsibility still remains for Garrett and Hannah towards Cindy now that they have achieved their own personal freedom and stability?
Does escaping one's own trauma create an obligation to rescue those still trapped in the same cycle? Or does self-preservation ultimately override that duty? It's a conflict that lingers long after their final goal is scored.